Hi, Cathy.
Hi, Wes.
This is the first time we've done this intro.
Oh, my goodness.
So many tech things. All right, so thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And so we're going to spend some time talking about just teaching. Maybe we'll start with how you started in teaching and where you've been. And then we have interviewed a few people, gotten some quotes, and we're going to throw those into the mix and just see what other people around you have said we should talk about.
Okay.
Tell me about where you started your teaching journey.
I didn't actually start teaching straight out of high school. What I did was I went to school to become a paralegal.
Okay.
And I worked at an oil refinery plant in Paramount.
Long Beach area?
Long Beach, yeah. So quite a departure. And then over time, I just felt like there was something else I needed to do. I loved working in the law firm, loved it all, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I came home one day and I said to my husband, you know what? I want to become a teacher. And he said, okay, you to go do that. And I said, okay, I will. And so went to school at Cal State Fullerton and actually started teaching at Acacia for the first 2 years of my career. That's great. Then I got pregnant with my son. And it just so happened that there was a teacher at Laguna Road who'd also just had a baby. And we connected, hit it off, and I moved to Laguna, and I've been there ever since.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. And then grade-wise, what grades have you taught? Have you always been fifth grade or?
No, I actually started in kindergarten, which I absolutely adored. I thought I would stay there forever.
Really?
Loved it. But then when I moved, so that's where I started Acacia. And then when I moved to Laguna, my partner was teaching third grade. And I did that for about 5 years. And then, unfortunately, my dad passed away. And I was working part-time at the time, sharing a contract with my partner. And I needed to go back full-time to actually help my sister through college. So I went to Sully and said, do you have a position? And he said, it just so happens someone's leaving fifth. And I thought, well, they're awfully big in fifth. And he said, well, you're a very tall person. You'll be just fine. So I moved to fifth, and I think this is my 14th year in fifth grade.
You're tall. You'll be just fine.
Just fine, yes.
Just so reassuring.
Isn't he? I know. He's like, I've got faith in you. Just go. Okay.
Wow. So kinder, third, fifth, and most years in fifth?
Yes. The majority of my career has been in fifth grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What's one, so I started as a high school English teacher. What's one thing I should know about fifth grade? Like students or curriculum or just something you're like, this is just a basic principle about fifth grade.
Well, that's a good question. I think you have to remember they're still kids. They're still little kids. Even though they might be taller than you, stronger than you. They're really just kids. They still want to celebrate their birthday. They still want to be recognized as star student or get a radical roadrunner from our school. And that's one thing that I learned stepping into fifth grade was because, you always imagine just the little ones.
Right.
And, they're the ones that want to celebrate birthdays. They're the ones that want to wear pajamas to school and dress up and bring their stuffed animals. No, fifth graders do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And really it's that being playful and enjoying life that's good. So what are some ways that besides birthdays and PJs that you help them have a good time at school and remember their kids?
Well, one thing that I always incorporate into my classroom is music.
Okay.
Absolutely love music.
Okay. A few of our people we interviewed gave us quotes about that. So,
did they?
Yeah. So tell us about music.
So I think deep in my heart, I'm a rock star.
Okay. You are.
Seriously, I think that any given moment, if I could sing, I would go on stage and just perform and, tour the world. I just love music. And so I do a couple things with my kids. So first thing in the morning, like morning meetings, I always have an inspirational song. I'm a firm believer then that what you put in is what drives you and helps you, tackle the world.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to positive, uplifting music, that's what you're going to project.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're listening to depressing, sad music, that's how you're going to feel.
Right.
And so morning meetings, we always start with something positive, always singing. Another thing I incorporated with them just this year was, have you ever heard of? Who's this artist you've ever heard of? Because I was kind of thinking back at Christmas time, there's a lot of artists that students don't know because their parents haven't taught them.
Right.
So, for example, Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Okay, big Ray Charles fan.
Yeah.
But when I say Ray Charles to fifth graders, they don't know who I'm talking about.
Right.
So I said to them, okay, I want to do this podcast. Well, we call it a podcast, but it's just a presentation in our classroom where we introduce an artist from some period of time.
Yeah.
Hopefully not the 2000s. They understand that there were artists before then. And then they do like a biography on them, and then we listen to the music of that particular artist all week long.
Oh, that's great.
And it was great because they've learned about people they maybe have never heard of.
Yeah.
And they're telling me, oh my God, I love this song. Or, oh, can you play that song again?
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Name some artists you think they were surprised by or they were familiar with and you were surprised by.
Oh, that's a good one. Frank Sinatra, believe it or not.
Really?
They knew Frank Sinatra,
wow.
which I was surprised.
Right.
One that's really strange that maybe people will not know is the Smiths.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And so one of the little girls said, oh, I want to, tell about the Smiths. And I said, there is no way on this planet you know who that is. You know what I mean? They were like popular in the 80s.
You didn't listen to K-Rock?
No, exactly. And they said, no, we know exactly. Well, I guess there's a show called Stranger Things.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Right. And that's part of the music.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Now, I haven't watched it. Okay, I pretend that I have.
Okay.
I have not watched it,
That's
but apparently they play
interesting
80s music, yes.
Wow.
Phil Collins is another one that I was surprised about.
Okay. That's really interesting.
Right, exactly. Okay. But of course, the Beatles, they were introduced to the Beatles. They've heard of the Beatles, but maybe never really knew anything about them.
Yeah.
Like I said, Ray Charles, Diana Ross and the Supremes.
That's great.
Yeah, just different artists that they would probably, maybe their parents have not introduced them to.
Right.
And I thought, I want this legacy to go on and on. I want them to appreciate all types of music.
And it's just a way to connect to other people. And I think Robert Hirsch had the cultural literacy was a term. I think it might have fallen out of vogue. I don't know. Right. But what's a song that... Are there songs they ask you to play again and again? Like they like it and they're like, ooh, play that one that they've kind of discovered through this process.
Right. Hit the Road Jack.
Oh.
They love that song.
Hit the Road Jack.
Yes, can you believe it?
It's just full of meaning.
I know.
Every generation loves it.
Yeah. I'm at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, bye, hit the road, Jack. You can go.
Oh, that's great. That'd be a great exit ticket song.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Exactly.
So one of our quotes is from Cindy Bach, and so she talks about music and building fluency through rap music, but I'm going to pick up on another thing she talked about is snowball fight.
Oh, yes.
Okay, she says more about that, but what does that mean?
Okay. All right. So in fifth grade, one of the standards is learning about the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I did for review, and it just so happened the day that Dr. Pletka was coming to Laguna, yes, I had the kids dress as redcoats and patriots, right? And then we split the room in half, and we literally had written review questions on a white piece of paper, crumpled it up, and threw it across the room at each other as if we were in battle. And then you'd have to run across the room, pick up the paper, look at it, open it up, and then quickly run to your desk and write the answers out on a separate piece of paper, crumble it up, throw it back at the mix.
Oh my gosh.
So it was all this chaos, but it was a controlled chaos that many teachers know about.
Yeah, and then I can expect that they were just into it.
Oh, they loved it.
Yeah.
They wanted to keep going and going and going. And I'm like, but you've already answered those questions. No, let's do it again. I'll do it a second time.
We want to review.
Yes, exactly. So they don't realize they were reviewing. They just thought they were having a fabulous time.
I love that. So what about Cindy Bach also mentions transforming your room into an emergency room, like an ER, to teach the
order of operations.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yes. So order of operation is a math concept that the kids really do struggle with. And so one day we decided that we were going to literally transform our room. And so I was fortunate enough to get hairnets from an actual doctor.
Yeah.
And then masks from doctors and dentists and so forth. They passed them my way, and all the kids got to dress up.
Okay.
And then I wore scrubs, which
Okay.
was the best part of the entire day. I thought, why didn't I go into that profession? And then we operated on, we had a box that had like red strips of paper in that kind of was supposed to look like blood and muscles and so forth. And they used chopsticks to go in and pick up one of the pieces of paper, and then it would have a math equation on it. They would solve it and put it back inside the patient.
Oh, wow.
And when Dr. Bach came in, I made her put a hairnet on and a mask because she was entering my operating room.
Yeah, it's so immersive. You know, it helps the students feel a sense of drama and excitement. That's so great.
Yeah.
I can see why she thought of those when I asked her to share.
It's funny because I forgot all about them. You know what I mean? When she was there.
Well, let's go to music, Songwriting 101. A couple of people mentioned this. So Angela, who used to teach with you, and she's moved to, is it South Carolina?
No, Maryland.
Maryland, okay. Sorry, Angela. So she says, for years, Cathy has been the go-to teacher at Laguna Road to serve as the innovation teacher. And we were talking about this at Innovation Experience. She's tied projects to the American Revolution that we just talked about and other areas of the 5th grade curriculum. Her latest pet project is Songwriting 101, which you got funded through all the arts.
Right.
So, and then it talks about the ukulele and learning poetry through songwriting. Tell us about that.
Okay, so poetry is, of course, another state standard for 5th grade, and it's quite a dry subject. As I've learned, only 12% of adults read poetry.
Oh.
Yes, which is a crime. And so one day I was driving home and, of course, listening to music. There's an artist from the 80s. Her name was Tracy Chapman.
Yeah.
Okay, and she used the
You're used to being
guitar.
with 5th graders.
Yes,
You're like,
exactly.
I know who Tracy Chapman is.
Yeah, okay. A lot of people don't. But anyway, so she usually plays with just an acoustic guitar. And I was listening to one of her songs and I thought, you know what, I have this idea. I don't know if it'll fly. I don't know if I can actually pull this off, but this is what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
So what my goal was that the students would learn the concepts of poetry and learn how to write a poem.
Yeah.
And then from there, they would be able to use a ukulele from all the arts.
Okay.
And luckily, Mr. Adamson came too, because when I reached out to Phil and said, I have this idea, Phil said, absolutely, we can do this for you. We can bring Mr. Adamson to show you really how to handle the ukuleles and teach a few chords, which was fantastic because honestly, I do not know how to play the ukulele.
But I love that you had this idea.
I'm like, I can do this. Yeah. Yes, I can do this. There's a YouTube video that will teach me how to do this, right? Well, I didn't have to do that. So fortunately, Mr. Adamson came. He taught 4 chords to the kids, and the kids just ate it up.
Yeah.
And then from there, they would take their poems and put them into a song and learn different types of chords and then play the transition of those chords, and they were singing, they were making songs.
That's great.
I said they're just like Stevie Nicks, you know, Fleetwood Mac. They're performing. And then they went around the school and performed for other classrooms and teachers just to kind of get the other kids excited. Yeah. And then they're going to showcase it at Innovation.
Oh, that's great. And so you have a real world audience. They're leaving the classroom and performing for other people around campus and then going to FSD Fest.
Right.
So that's one of those things we talk about is giving the students agency, the opportunity to connect with real world audiences. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, they're very excited. What they're going to do in Innovation is they're going to teach someone, like, so let's say you come up to our booth, they're going to teach you a chord on the ukulele, and then there will be a jar where you will pull out a topic. They will help you write a song.
Wow.
Very quick song, but they will help you write a song, and then you'll be able to
great.
play. You'll be a songwriter just like they are.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really kind of innovative. It's the name of the event.
I'm the queen of innovation, I'm telling you. I've been doing it a long time.
I love it. Okay, so we're quotes from Angela. Let's also dip into this. So there's a question I ask, which is kind of bonus feedback, like anything you think we should know about Cathy. So Angela said, you never know what you're going to find when walking into Cathy's classroom. It can be a cooking with Cat segment where the students are following a recipe and learning measurement. So tell us, and someone else, Danielle Guerrero, also talked about, so I'll read hers. Cathy is really passionate about cooking, which is interesting because you said...
Yes, sort of.
So she said that happened when COVID shut down schools. You saw it as an opportunity through Zoom, cooking with Kat every Friday?
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Okay. So Zoom was really hard on the kids, as you know. And so one thing I wanted to do was to offer above and beyond activities, right? So maybe a yoga class. I did a yoga class one time, or a dance class. But one thing that worked out really well was cooking with Kat. And what I did was, from my own kitchen, I would invite the students ahead of time. So I say we'd do this on a Friday. But on Monday, I would send a slide deck saying, these are the ingredients. This is what you need. Log into this Zoom, and I will teach you like how to make a pizza, how to make chocolate chip cookies, pancakes, whatever it happened to be. Obviously, parents were there for support. And I started this cooking class with the kids, and they absolutely loved it. And it was great because we've even had parents who still have students at the school. The fifth graders have moved on. They're fifth graders, but they'll have younger kids, younger siblings, and they'll say, "Hey, tonight we're going to make your chocolate chip recipe." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" But
cool.
Yes, so we did something like that. I wish we could have continued it. Once school opened back up. But I did it. We did it the year before, where we made egg salad sandwiches, or we made sandwiches, something easy that they can do, where it doesn't take any. You don't have to use the oven, or you don't have to use a mixer or anything, but. We made a lot of recipes cooking with Kat. Yes. Yeah,
and I can imagine that's such a personal thing to do, is to teach somebody how to make food that they could feed themselves and their family. It's really great, and they probably loved it, I would imagine.
They really did. They really did. One of the parents was so sweet. They made me a apron.
Oh.
Because pink is my favorite color, so they made me a pink apron that said "Cooking with Kat." But the one thing I did do is, on Zoom, you know how you can change your background? I made sure that my kitchen looked spectacular in the background. I mean, it looked like a perfect chef's kitchen. It had you could view the ocean, and the kids were like, "Is that really your kitchen?" No, boys and girls, it isn't. I wish. I wish I lived in $1 million house. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I have to say, even though I'm not a master at cooking, I did enjoy cooking with Kat. I really did. It was a lot of fun.
That's great. So there's a lot, food, music, you're bringing these things that students already have a connection to, and then connecting it to learning. That's great. Okay, Coatson, there's a quote in here about Coatson. You tell me about Coatson, then I'll read the quote.
Okay. Well, I was very fortunate, along with several other teachers at Laguna Road, to be accepted into Coatson. And it has just been an amazing opportunity. We've learned so much from in Writer's Workshop, Reader's Workshop, different ways to connect with children that maybe you didn't think about, using mentor text, and then having that fellowship of being able to turn to another Coatson fellow, or to my mentor, Carol Ann Curley, and say, again, this is an idea I'm having. What do you think? Do you think this would work in this particular program? And being just having so much support. It's been a remarkable opportunity. And we were fortunate enough to have a third year in Coatson. Normally it's a 2-year program. And then on top of that, they've now allowed another round of Coatson at Laguna Road.
Wow.
Yes, which That's is great. I think we're the only school that they've allowed it for that to happen.
Wow.
So we're very, very fortunate to be a part of Coatson.
Yeah. So it sounds like a good connection with a mentor, and the mentor's probably getting you to reflect on things that maybe you've done in the past, but you don't have time to.
Right.
Do you have what's one, I don't know if you call it a breakthrough, but an aha moment or something from Coatson and reflection that you thought was particularly unique or meaningful for yourself?
Well, it's funny because I think as a teacher we're always reflecting, right? Because you have an idea. You don't know how it's going to go.
And you do have a lot of ideas.
I do have a lot of ideas, yes.
We've talked about a bunch of them.
And it's funny because I'm not artistic, but it's all up in here. But anyway, you have this idea of how, you want a particular lesson to go. And then you attempt it. sometimes it's wonderful, successful,
Right.
everything's beautiful, the birds are singing,
Yeah.
a rainbow appears, but then
I said
you crash
sarcasm.
and burn. Yes, you crash and burn. But it's what's amazing too is just being able to stop and say to your mentor, this is how this went. This is how I think it connected. And she'll be in the room with you often when you're doing a lesson. And it's great to get her perspective. But the one thing I have to say that it's scary in the beginning. When you first take on something new that you're not familiar with, and Reader's Workshop is, going across the board throughout the whole entire district, it's something new.